In the early 1990s, Disney games were at the peak of their popularity, and few were as anticipated as Aladdin for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Released in 1993 by Capcom, Aladdin was a unique take on the beloved Disney movie. This version stood out not only for its gameplay, but also for the controversy it sparked among fans, as a completely different version of the game was released for the Sega Genesis by Virgin Interactive. Capcom's version for the Super Nintendo, however, was praised for its fluid gameplay, colorful graphics, and memorable soundtrack, capturing the spirit of the movie in its own way. Capcom had already proven itself to be a master of licensed games, thanks to its successful DuckTales and Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers titles for the NES. When the opportunity arose to adapt Aladdin for the Super Nintendo, Capcom was eager to work on another Disney property. The game's development was led by Shinji Mikami, who would later gain fame for his work on the Resident Evil series. Mikami and his team wanted to create a game that captured the charm and energy of the animated movie while still providing a unique gameplay experience distinct from the Genesis version. Interestingly, the Genesis version of Aladdin, developed by Virgin Interactive, was being made simultaneously, and both versions took very different approaches to the same source material. The Genesis version was praised for its use of hand-drawn animation and more direct ties to the movie's visuals, but Capcom's Super Nintendo version focused more on tight platforming gameplay and a more stylized, cartoonish approach. Capcom's decision to use custom graphics and a unique style was largely driven by the limitations of the console and a desire to create a more whimsical and playful interpretation of Agrabah, the Arabian Nights setting of the movie. This choice set the version apart, and while it didn't use the same animation techniques as the Genesis version, it was still visually stunning and featured smooth gameplay. The story follows the plot of the 1992 Disney movie closely. Players take on the role of Aladdin, a street-smart young man living in the bustling streets of Agrabah. After finding a magical lamp that contains a powerful and comical genie, Aladdin sets off on a thrilling adventure. His journey involves seeking the love of Princess Jasmine, battling the treacherous Jafar, and ultimately saving the kingdom. The game unfolds across a series of levels that mirror key moments from the movie. From escaping the guards in the bustling marketplace to navigating the Cave of Wonders and its dangers, the game does an excellent job of capturing the highlights of Aladdin's story. While the narrative is simplified compared to the movie, it remains faithful to the source material and is packed with colorful cutscenes that advance the plot between levels. Capcom's Aladdin is a pure platformer, placing an emphasis on precision jumping, clever level design, and collecting items. The gameplay is often compared to other Capcom classics like Mega Man and Super Ghouls and Ghosts, known for their responsive controls and engaging platforming challenges. The game is a classic platformer at heart. Players must navigate Aladdin through a variety of levels, including the streets of Agrabah, the Cave of Wonders, and the Sultan's Palace. Each stage is filled with platforms, traps, enemies, and secrets waiting to be discovered. The levels encourage exploration, with hidden areas, bonus stages, and secret items scattered throughout. Players can collect gems for bonus points and apples to throw at enemies, which adds a strategic element to the gameplay. Aladdin is equipped with a range of acrobatic moves that make navigating the levels fun and dynamic. He can jump, swing on poles, and perform quick rolls to dodge attacks. The controls are tight and responsive, allowing for precise platforming that rewards careful timing and skill. One of the game's standout features is Aladdin's ability to use objects in the environment to his advantage. Players can swing from ropes, slide down fabrics, and bounce off canopies, giving the game a sense of fluidity and freedom of movement. While the emphasis is on platforming, Aladdin can also engage enemies with a simple combat system. He can throw apples to stun foes or jump on them to defeat them. Although the combat mechanics are straightforward, they add an extra layer of strategy, especially when dealing with tougher enemies like palace guards and desert creatures. The game offers a nice mix of platforming levels, chase sequences, and boss fights that keep the gameplay fresh. Highlights include the intense escape from the collapsing Cave of Wonders, riding the magic carpet through the lava-filled caverns, and the final confrontation with Jafar. Bonus levels featuring Abu the monkey are scattered throughout the game, providing lighthearted challenges and opportunities to collect extra lives and items. Aladdin was one of Shinji Mikami's early projects as a lead designer, and it was his first major success. Mikami later stated in interviews that if the game had not been successful, he might not have continued in the gaming industry. His experience on this game helped shape his career, leading to his future work on survival horror classics. One of the most notable aspects is the rivalry with the Sega Genesis version. Each game was developed by a different team with a distinct vision. While the Genesis version focused more on hand-drawn animations that mimicked the movie, the Super Nintendo version was praised for its superior gameplay and tighter controls. This rivalry is often cited as one of the greatest debates in retro gaming. Capcom's Aladdin features a soundtrack that closely follows the movie's music, with 16-bit renditions of iconic songs like A Whole New World and Arabian Nights. The music adds a layer of authenticity and nostalgia, capturing the magic of the Disney movie even in a video game format. One of the most praised aspects is its attention to detail. From the bustling streets of Agrabah to the mysterious Cave of Wonders, the environments are beautifully crafted with vibrant colors and animations that bring the world of Aladdin to life. The backgrounds are filled with subtle touches that make the game world feel dynamic and alive. Unlike many platformers of the time, the Super Nintendo version is known for having a balanced difficulty curve. While it provides a challenge for experienced players, it's also accessible to younger audiences, making it a favorite among families. The gradual increase in difficulty ensures that players of all skill levels can enjoy the adventure. Although the Super Nintendo version did not utilize the same hand-drawn animation techniques as the Genesis version, Capcom worked closely with Disney to ensure that the character designs and animations remained faithful to the movie. The result is a game that, while more stylized, still captures the spirit and visual flair of Aladdin. The development wasn't without its challenges. One of the primary concerns was how to differentiate the game from the Genesis version, which was already being praised for its animation quality. Capcom's decision to focus on gameplay and level design, rather than trying to compete visually, paid off. This focus led to the creation of a tight and well-crafted platformer that is still regarded as one of the best in its genre. The limitations of the hardware also meant that the developers had to be creative with how they presented the environments. Capcom used parallax scrolling and clever sprite work to give the impression of depth and movement, making the game feel more expansive than it actually was. Additionally, the development team had to strike a balance between capturing the feel of the movie and creating a unique gameplay experience that could stand on its own. Aladdin for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System is a perfect example of how licensed games can be more than just cash grabs. They can be genuine works of art that capture the essence of the source material while providing a unique and enjoyable gameplay experience. Capcom's version of Aladdin stands out for its tight platforming mechanics, charming graphics, and faithful adaptation of Disney's classic story. The game has become a beloved part of many gamers' childhoods and remains a nostalgic favorite for Disney fans and platforming enthusiasts alike. While the debate over which version, Genesis or Super Nintendo, is the best will continue, there's no denying that Capcom's Aladdin is a classic in its own right. It's a game that showcases the power of collaboration between Disney and Capcom, highlighting the magic that can happen when passionate developers bring a beloved animated movie to life in the interactive medium of video games. For anyone who loves Disney, classic platformers, or retro gaming, Aladdin for the Super Nintendo is a journey worth taking, transporting players back to a time when video games and movies could seamlessly blend into a magical adventure.